The untold story of Pirate Borg.
We're the sleazy, clickbaity jerks today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. All right, let me get my chat up here. Let's see. All right. And all right, here we go. Hello, what's going on, Luke?
Hello, ahoy!
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us today Luke Stratton, also known as Limithron. He is the creator of Pirate Borg, which you may have heard of. It is an amazing game. I played it several times at conventions. My guy Zach is running a Pirate Borg one-shot for us right now. It's tons of fun. So he's going to be on talking with us. We're going to talk about creating Pirate Borg. We're going to talk about just being a content creator in general. We'll talk about some of the business side, running the Kickstarter. He runs a Patreon, which like makes some decent money. It's like 5,000 per release. And I'm just like, that's nice. How many releases do you do a month usually?
Lately, it's been one.
One? Okay.
Before I got to doing the Pirate Borg, it was like 3 or 4.
Yeah, but doing a Kickstarter takes some effort. Yeah. So,
yeah.
And he's also got a YouTube channel. He does like podcasts and stuff like that. So, yeah, we're just going to hang out tonight. We're going to talk about things. We're probably going to talk about Elon Musk taking over D&D, you know, like spicy, fun stuff like that. So, stick around. You don't want to miss that.
Hot takes all night from the Luke's. Luke's Squared coming in with the hot takes.
We're gonna have so many people pissed off at us, like leaving nasty comments, you know, because they can't separate like politics from running a business in their minds. You know what I mean? So yeah, well, it'll be lots of fun. So
yeah.
All right, cool. So before we jump in, we do have a giveaway going on tonight. We always have a giveaway, so sign up for it. There should be a link down in the description. There should be a link in the chat, not the description. It's free. At the end of the live stream, we'll draw the winner. You'll get $50 store credit on the DMlayer.com, where you can get a whole bunch of D&D 5th edition and Pathfinder 2 crap to use in your game. So join the giveaway. It is totally free. And I think that's the only thing I got to say before we start talking. So
sweet.
All right. So Pirate Borg, how the heck did you start with Pirate Borg? Like, what made you even want to create this game?
Oh man. Well, I mean, the shortest story, I've told this story a lot, so I'll probably try not to, bore anybody who knows me, but the shortest version is that in COVID, I was playing D&D. I was running a pirate themed campaign because I love pirates. I've been obsessed with pirates.
Hold on a second. So Pirate Borg started like just a few years ago?
Oh yeah, it's my COVID project. I mean, I started my Patreon in COVID.
I always I've seen you at conventions and the whole like your booth and all this stuff, and I've always had the impression that Pirate Borg has been around for a while, and I just didn't know about it.
Oh no, it kickstarted in COVID.
Wow.
I think 2021 was the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Maybe. I have to trace it back. I think it's 2021 though, but. Yeah, I mean, people get surprised when I say, like, I was really into drawing comic books when I was like 10 or 11, and I did not think I was any good at doing it without just copying somebody else's art style, you know, and I quit, and I didn't start drawing again until COVID. So
okay.
But yeah, so basically, I was running this D&D campaign. It was called Tales from the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. Very Pirates of the Caribbean meets 5th edition kind of, Krakens and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was COVID, and I started doing this Patreon because there weren't enough battle maps to do all the things I wanted to do. Like you can't just everybody's got a galleon and maybe there's some sloops, but I wanted flutes and brigantines and ships of the line and all these different types to run a full pirate campaign.
Right.
So I started drawing on myself using other creators' assets, and then I started I showed what do you call it? Like one of the forts from Assassin's Creed. Yeah. I showed that to Che from Che and Peku. And he's like, dude, this is really good. Like, you should just do this. And I was like, dude, I'm just using your assets. He's like, no, this is way past that. And he really encouraged me to like just go all the way.
Yeah.
So I did, but then COVID, like I'm out of work because my other line of work was concert lighting at the time. And
so you would go into like concerts and set up the lighting?
I don't set them up anymore. I do all the creative side. I do like all the programming and running the actual show. It's kind of like professional Guitar Hero. Yeah.
Okay. But that's, so you were doing that before COVID.
Yeah, and still after, and I still do design, although
Okay.
I'm so busy with Limithron that I don't really, it's kind of gone away, I guess.
Yeah, dude, you just gotta, as long as you got a good bankroll, man, you don't gotta do that day job anymore,
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because people are like, the concert thing is like a real thing. Like my only client for the past few years is Smashing Pumpkins, and like I went to 20 countries this year, and people are like, oh, so like, your night job is like making D&D maps, and I'm like, it's my night job is the concerts. You know? People like couldn't believe, like the band couldn't believe it when they're like, when this Kickstarter last one went off. They're like, what is going on? I'm like, I don't know, but I just made the thing I wanted to exist, and people seem to want it. So
that's cool. Yeah. So that's fun though, because I can totally see, like, you know, it's like you could probably quit your gig with Bashing Pumpkins, but that sounds like pretty fun. You're like traveling all over the place, listening to like rock concerts and crap.
I mean,
so,
I did. I mean, I don't tour anymore. So
okay.
And it remains to be seen, you know, if you're a designer, you only get called before the tour, and we'll see if they call me again next year. You know, who knows?
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Like, they might be like, screw Luke, he left us. I don't know. So, but so anyway, I'm drawing these maps during COVID. And I started a Patreon, and the Patreon, by the end of lockdown, it was paying my mortgage because I was working really, really hard to make all these different ship assets. And nobody, while there were a lot of battle map makers, none of them were like so focused. And I really just doubled down on the niche, you know?
Yeah.
But I got, like so many other GMs, I got burnt out. Like I was drawing maps all day and prepping my 5e campaign. And, you know, 5e campaign it's a lot of work if you're going to do it right. You have to challenge balance, and you have to really think about the arcs and plots and all that stuff.
How often was your game meeting?
Every week.
It was weekly too. Ooh, for like what, 4 hours or something?
Yeah, 3-4 hours.
Yeah,
and, you know,
that's
like
that's
like making maps. I'm making maps all the time, and I'm making them for my game.
Yeah.
You know, and then releasing them. You know, and I was like, guys, I'm getting burnt out. I need a break. And luckily, all my players, who are all amazing, are all also GMs. Yeah. And one of them was like, we took a break for a month, and everybody ran. Like Mandalorian was real big at this time, so we took a break and did a 5e Mandalorian, or not, you know, like Star Wars one shot where I was only a player. I was only this like awesome Wookiee, and each GM ran a different session, and it was so much fun. But then after that, Kevin, one of my GMs, was like, hey, I got this weird Swedish game called Borg, and we should play it. And I had the PDF, I think. Maybe I had the book, but I was like, knew about it.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if have you seen original Borg?
I mean, I've held the book and I flipped through it and seen like the cool graphic layout and stuff. Yeah.
Like, it's like some of the pages don't like, you're like, oh, well, this isn't like a real game, or this isn't like a full game. Like, there's a few rules, you know? But we played it. We did like a 3 or 4 session campaign with it, and it was the most fun I'd ever had playing an RPG. It was like, I didn't realize that my play style, like, I mean, I did realize because my campaign was like, okay, we're going to use only these spells, and we're going to do long rests. You have to be at land. And you know, it's basically taking all these things out of 5e to make it feel more like a pirate thing, you know?
Yep.
Well, we played Borg, and we were like laughing, and we weren't worrying about rules. And it's like any moment I could die from any hit. It was so suspenseful, but it was like hilarious. Yeah. And like your stats are getting switched by core class abilities, like just really wacky stuff. And I realized that experience was way more what I wanted at the table than what I was getting with 5th edition. And it's not a slant against the system. It's just like, you know, some people like my brother's on the stream. Some people like War of the Ring. Some people like Gloomhaven. You know, other people like I can't think of a good example, but like games with less rules. You know, I'm not talking about like Monopoly. Like I still like Theme, but I wanted my session to be less.
Yeah, I love Monopoly. You know, like I'll play Monopoly. You know,
of course.
Smoke my daughter or my wife, and then make them cry in a corner. I mean, I dig that. You know, it's good. Yeah. So,
like, I think a good example for me is, have you ever heard of Eschaton by Archon Games?
I don't think so. No.
So this game is like my favorite board game. Yeah. It's basically, it's probably about as crunchy. It's like a deck builder with a map element, so it kind of looks like Risk, but it doesn't play like. So you're basically a cultist, and you're trying to like curry favor with the Dark One before the end happens. Yeah. And you're basically like recruiting. I don't know. It's just, but it's high theme. That's the point. It's very, very, very high theme. That's the kind of board game I like. That's the kind of RPG I like, right?
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
So we played this Borg campaign, and I had a pretty active Discord with my patrons, and one of them was very much into the OSR and Borg and all these older idea games. And we were chatting, and I was like, dude, I should make Pirate Borg. Like, I should just like hack it, because like Borg has like the best third party license in the industry. It's
Right.
like you can pretty much do anything with the system. You just can't copy like lore text, and you can't use the art. But they're like they like encourage on their website like full hacks. You know?
Right.
And my friend Brian Colin from Creature Creation, he had made Vasgrim, which is like kind of a space, like neon space slug version.
I met him. I met him before. I definitely met him at Gamehole Con, but I'm pretty sure I met him before that too.
I mean, he's the man, and like that game did really well. They did a game found, not a Kickstarter, but it did really well. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we can do full hacks. So I set out to like do a zine, and the zine grew to like a small book, and then I did the Kickstarter, and between running the Patreon and being in graphic design. And like promoting bands and stuff, like I have enough experience to like I figured out how to do a good Kickstarter. I went to all these like backer kit seminars on how to run pre-campaign ads, and and the Kickstarter did pretty well on my own, but then I think it also got a little virality, and it ended up getting like 5,000 backers.
5,000 backers. So what was the gross on it?
140,000 for the first one.
Awesome.
But like I set the price point too low. I like, this is gonna be a $30 book, but I don't know anything about the industry, and like it's not a $30 book, it's at least a $40 like it's a premium $40 book.
Dude, you could sell that for $50.
You could, yeah.
I'd pay $50 for it, because like the thing is that when you look at as soon as you open up Pirate Borg and you see the beautiful artwork, the layout, and like how every spread has a unique design to it, that's a premium book. Like that's not just like copy paste into InDesign from a Word document into a template. It's like you know what I mean? So like you open that book up, it might just be like, it might not be the biggest book in the world, but when you open it, you see it's a premium book. So I bet you people will pay $50 for that.
I'm sure they would. I'm sure they would. I mean, and like, but at the same time, like I don't want it to be like, I don't want to price myself out. I want people to buy the game. I want them to play it. So well, but I guess the moral here is that the Kickstarter did well enough with that when I approached Free League about them publishing it, they were like instantly on board.
Okay.
So they signed it before we went to print. They signed it, and that's what put it in like worldwide distribution.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So then now we're here, and it did so much better than I was expecting it to do that it kind of has become. I mean, obviously it's like our flagship thing now. Everything we do is based around Pirate Borg, and all my future projects are based off of it. So yeah. That's how it happened.
That's stinking awesome. Yeah, I remember you mentioned that was your COVID project, and I remember when COVID hit, I worked at like a financial services company, and they sent all of us home to work from home. Yeah. And so I do like project work, so it's like I don't work by the hour. I get paid by getting my job done, Yeah. And there's one thing you find when you're working from home very quickly. It doesn't take you 40 hours to get your work done. It takes you 15, maybe 20. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, my work's done. What am I doing now? Yeah. And so I also launched a Kickstarter, and that was my first Kickstarter during COVID. And I've done several others after that, but I don't know. I think for a lot of people, the extra time we got during COVID allowed us to do little projects or side hustles, for those that were, I guess they didn't just sit around playing video games with their spare time, I mean,
that's what I spent the first month doing. I played so much Breath of the Wild. It was like, like even now when my wife puts on Armchair Expert, it's a podcast. I like flash back to like, oh, we're ordering delivery groceries. I'm playing Breath of the Wild. Yeah. We can't leave the house, but like I could only do that for like a month before I'm definitely a creative person. I need to like be making something or I won't be happy.
Yeah. I remember I was laid off. This was like a long time ago, but I was in the automotive industry, and I got laid off for like a month, 2 months or something. Yeah. And the first couple, and you get to collect unemployment when you get laid off like that, And for the first couple of weeks, I was like, this is awesome, Xbox, baby. And then after 2 weeks, I was like, this sucks, man. I'm bored now, So, but this was like this was like 20 years ago or something at this point, you know. But
yeah,
I get bored really quick if you're not doing something, you know.
Yeah.
So you got to have something to do. It's like why they have retirement jobs. That's why like, you know, people have retirement jobs. It's like, yeah, I retired. Well, why are you working 40 hours a week at this
dude,
like warehouse? It's like, oh, it's my retirement job, you know.
I cannot imagine retiring. That seems insane to me.
Oh, I want to retire. Like I want to retire, but then be able to use my time to just kind of like do whatever I want, as opposed to, and I might still create crap for like, you know, gaming, you know, or I might just decide, you know what, I'm going to retire and I'm just going to run games. I'm going to run like 3 games a week, and that's what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? That's my, and then I'm also like, I'm a Christian and I go to church and I do volunteer stuff, and, you know, and so I'll have more time that I can devote to that type of stuff, you know? So like, that's like, I'm like, once you don't have to worry about money, it's like, I can kind of do whatever I want. Okay. Now what do I want to do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
wait, so can I ask you, being a Christian, do you feel like, are you ever at odds with things like in the RPG industry that are?
I stay very strongly away from anything that has to do with politics, anything that has to do with social change, any of that stuff. I try to stay completely neutral to all of that stuff. And it's like, I'm here to publish gaming stuff. That's it.
What about stuff. In game, you know?
What do you mean in game?
Like for example, I was just mentioning that game where you're a cultist, like curing favor with the dark one. It's probably not up your alley.
That's fun, dude. That's
okay,
it's all game, dude. It's like, I don't, no. I don't have any problems with that. No, that's like satanic, like a panic crap, you know? So there's like demons and devils, and you're killing and you're fighting them, and they're monsters. Like, that's the game, you know? That's, so no, I don't got any problem with that. No, I don't get any problem with that. But, you know, they're obviously, you got to stay away from politics and crap like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's you know, nobody likes that crap. That'll get everybody upset. You know.
Yeah, you want to get us both canceled real quick?
Yeah, let's talk about Elon Musk taking over D&D. We can both get canceled. Yeah, people will just get raging red in the face, screaming.
Okay, here we go.
You know, but let's save that. Let's save that for a little bit. Let's tease people a little bit so that they're like, oh man, they're gonna make me wait to get mad at them. They're already getting mad. So now you just ran another Kickstarter too. Pirate Borg, it's Down with the Dead, right?
It's called Down Among the Dead.
Down Among the Dead.
There's an old shanty it's called Down Among the Dead Men. And it's kind of an analogy, actually. Like, Down Among the Dead Men is often an analogy for like all the empty bottles in the bar. But it's like a double entendre kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, so basically, well, I guess the short version is the next book. The book I've always been working on is called The Dark Caribbean. It's a setting book.
Okay.
Before I was making Pirate Borg, I was working on the Dark Caribbean, and originally, if you even go back and look at the early marketing stuff, Pirate Borg was going to be Pirate Borg or Dark Caribbean for Mork Borg and Pirate Borg, and Dark Caribbean for 5e.
Okay.
But because it did so well, like, I ended up deciding not to do both at the same time, and it did so well that we've kind of pivoted.
Yeah.
But that book is still forthcoming. I've put a lot of work into it. It's basically going to be 50 plus NPCs, every major location in the Dark Caribbean, plot lines. It's a huge, big setting book.
No, you haven't Kickstarted that yet, right?
No, it has not come out. But after Pirate Borg, I was like, man, I really do not like doing a Kickstarter without having the book like done.
Yeah.
So we needed a new product. It'd been like 2 years, and like, it just, with the amount of work we put into Pirate Borg post Kickstarter, I just needed to do something new.
Yeah.
So I was gonna do something for Zine Quest, but then I was like, you know what? Like, if we're gonna do all the work of doing a Kickstarter, let's just do a full proper Kickstarter. So we pushed the Dark Caribbean Kickstarter and made this book, and I pulled some of the adventures I'd already written for it out into this book called Down Among the Dead. So it's basically like an adventure anthology with a bunch of new classes and a bunch of cool new tables. It's basically like an add-on it, making Pirate Borg just a bigger book with more adventures.
Okay.
But
now,
as we're no, go ahead.
Well, we're talking about Pirate Borg, and I just realized that maybe some other people listening don't even know what Pirate Borg is. So could you just give us like the summary? What is Pirate Borg? If you have to describe it as a game, like, what is it? You know?
Okay. So to borrow some of the Mork Borg language, basically Pirate Borg it's rules light, heavy, everything else. That's kind of the vibe of the genre. It's a tabletop role-playing game. it's the whole book is just under 200 pages, but it's like everything you need to play the game, including the GM stuff, the monster manual, and the player stuff.
Yeah.
It's a rules light RPG. It is D&D adjacent. You're rolling a D20 and adding a modifier to your skills. Pirate Borg has 5 abilities. They range from -3 to +6. But some of the differences, like if you're used to 5e, one of the biggest differences is that monsters don't roll to attack. You're going to roll to defend.
Yeah.
So the rolling is much more player facing and can go a lot quicker because of that. Also, armor isn't an AC; it's a damage soak. So if I have D4 armor, when I would take damage, I roll D4 and negate that much.
Right.
And then another one of the big things is that, you know, like in Morkborg, original Morkborg, the only level up options are you roll against each stat, or roll a D6 against each modifier, and if you roll equal to or higher, the number goes up. But if you roll less than, it goes down. So it kind of represents like you're not always leveling up. Like you might have taken a wound to the head, or you might have just been, you know, worn out.
Yeah.
And that just kind of shifts the dynamic. Like it's not this constant power creep that you see in normal D&D, where by level 15 you can't fight. Oh, this is one of the things with Dark Caribbean. Like I running this campaign, or with Tales of the Caribbean, I'm running this campaign, and like by level 5, like skeletons are not a threat, and I want skeletons and pirates to always be a threat.
Yeah,
you run into, you know. So the system does a really good job of that.
Right. I mean, you could always take, like in D&D, take a skeleton and just increase its stats, but then it's like it just feels so artificial, you know.
Very and then it's just like when you're playing a video game and you go back to the starter area, and those guys are still a threat because they just raised the stats. Like that doesn't feel.
It's like Skyrim, because like it just, all the enemies wherever you are usually scale according to your level.
Yeah, I hate that. I mean, like that's great for some kind of games, but you know what? There's no power balancing in Pirate Borg. There's no CR or level. I mean, clearly the monsters have a set amount of attack dice and hit points, but like, there's no broadcasting to say, hey, this is dangerous. Like the players have to discover that, and sometimes that's when they're like, okay, yeah, I go up to the guy and I punch him, and then they're like, okay, he pulls out his giant cutlass that's like teeming with necrotic energy, and he cuts you in half. You take, 38 damage, and I have 3 hit points. Like, okay, well, maybe you should run from this guy. Like, that's the kind of vibe that we like in Pirate Borg, where it's like the players have to decide whether it's worth engaging in combat, or they have to come up with clever ways to beat these characters. Like the weapons, you can't. There's, I think outside of magic, like you can't really roll more than a D10 for damage, and you don't add your modifier, so it's very different style of play.
Yeah, but I more and more like those games where it's like, it's not always balanced, and you might die with the next encounter. You might steamroll the next encounter. It might be easy, but then it might be brutal, and then your character dies. But usually in these games, this is true for Pirate Borg, it's true for Shadowdark, it's super fast to create a new character. There are random online generators that you don't have to pay $10 a month for. They're just free to create a character. You can click a button, it rolls it, you can start playing immediately. And I really enjoy that, as opposed to like I'm in a Pathfinder 2 game right now, and I'm running one, but I'm also a player in one, even though that game master is currently running a Pirate Borg one-shot for us, but we were doing Pathfinder 2 beforehand. It's like, if my character dies, it takes me, especially with Pathfinder 2, it's a little faster in D&D 5th edition. Pathfinder 2, it can take me 2 hours to make a new character. And it's like, I'm not spending 2 hours to make a new character.
That's a brutal loss to the fun of the game. You know? And I think one of the things with Pirate Borg that like it works just so well is that like you really have to reconceptualize who you are as a player in the world. Like you're playing the crew and you're exploring the world, and the crew and the world are the characters, not your PCs. You know? Your PCs, like they can die very quickly, or the ones that creep through and make it are pirate legends, just like they should be. So it gives you a variety to play different characters. And we just ran this West Marches campaign earlier this year, and we found that there's definitely a problem when you've got a bunch of people who were there from the beginning who didn't get killed, and they go up against deadly monsters. Like the new characters that didn't survive are getting like creamed, and the the legendary pirates are living on. But that's what I want, you know. And like I want them to be more powerful. So
yeah. And what was I gonna say? I was playing. I was in a game with your brother. Was it? Yeah, your brother. He was running at Gamehole Con. He ran a game for. It was me. It was the Dungeon Dudes, and then a couple people that maybe are on the Dungeon Dudes staff or work with them or they do something with them.
Sure.
But there were like, and then there was I forget his name, but there was another guy who was doing the best French voice in the world. Like it was beautiful.
Oh, I think it was one of our harbor masters.
Yes,
one of our GMs.
it was.
Yeah.
It was one of your GMs. I just don't remember his name, but that guy was amazing. His voice acting was off the charts.
So Tyler will tell us in the chat who.
Will he? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tyler. So Tyler, I think he killed me 3 times in that game. Yeah, he was brutal.
That happens sometimes. But like for comparison, I ran a 6-month playtest campaign for Dark Caribbean at the beginning of this year, and I only had 2 player deaths because we started slow. My players are like OSR familiar. They knew when danger was broadcasted. They knew how to be danger aware. And then the one guy, when he died, both times he did foolish things that got him killed, you know?
Yeah, that's me. I do the foolish stuff. I deserve every time I die, I deserve to die. You know, so it's fair.
That's part of the adventure. You know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. What I love about one of the things I love about Pirate Borg is that when you have a group that leans into the silly shenanigans stuff and really embraces that, and especially if they start to do like the stupid funny voices and crap, you know what I mean? That almost always when I played at a convention, there's at least a few players like that. When you have a group with at least a few players that really lean into that, you know what I mean? And especially if they're talking with pirate voices and stuff like that, like, oh man, it's awesome. It's amazing. And I know you can do that with any game system or whatever, but most of the time, like those other like more complex rule game systems, like I don't know. I don't see it quite as often. And I don't know if that's because the theme is more vanilla, so it doesn't encourage you to lean into it, or if it's because the players have to figure out their character sheets more than thinking about role playing or something. I don't know, but I see it a lot with Pirate Borg, and I don't tend to see it with some of the other rules heavy systems, you know?
I mean, I think part of that is what you said, but another big part of it is that it's pirates. Like we say this all the time, that we've had a lot of success with new players, to the hobby, and one shots at conventions. Because if I give you, a bow, and I'm like, you are a drow ranger, or you're a half elf sorcerer, you know, like
they don't know what to do with that. What is that?
I mean, like you and I might know, like if you've read Lord of the Rings, or if you're a nerd, like you can probably use your imagination and get there.
Right.
But if you're like so and so from The Office, or like the guy that you go climbing with, like they wants to try out D&D, like that can be kind of a hard sell if they're not a lore forward person. But if I give you a cutlass and say you're missing a leg and you have a parrot, and like your fancy piece of equipment is a pillow, like exactly how to act, and how terrible the world is that a fancy pillow, like a pillow, is considered fancy.
Stay away from me, pillow.
Exactly. So and the other thing too is like Pirate Borg doesn't give you. It's not like the player's handbook where it's like your parents were killed, and you're searching for a long lost treasure. It's not like a hook that the GM takes 6 sessions to weave to. It's like you like the taste of human flesh, or the last ship you crewed, everybody died, or like you're haunted by a ghost that nobody else can see. It's like really simple, clear role-playing elements, like delivered to you immediately. So
but you need that in Pirate Borg because you might die within like 5 minutes of playing the game. If you spend tons of time making a complex backstory only to be dead in 5 minutes, like you're probably not going to be happy about that because you spent a lot of effort making this backstory. But if all you did was roll at a random table and it's like, you like human flesh, that's your backstory. Well, it's like, why do I like human flesh? I don't know. I was stranded on an island and I had to eat flesh, and it actually tasted good. Okay, cool. Now every time I'm role playing, it's like, oh, he looks good, and you lead into it. But then if you die, it's like, oh crap, I died. Oh, who cares? That was I didn't have all this effort into creating the character, the backstory and stuff. And then the game master doesn't have to worry about being tempted to do plot armor, to like protect you because they like, you have this backstory that they're weaving into the main campaign. And like, if you die, it's like, oh, but then I can't do all these things that I was planning on doing. So maybe that enemy doesn't actually hit him for that much damage or something, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, the roles are player facing in Pirate Borg, so you can't even do that if you want to, I mean, I usually will roll damage, but I usually roll it out in the open because they're rolling whether they hit or not. Like, I try not to protect my players from the narrative at all, or the characters with the narrative at all. Like, I just feel like it's a different vibe, and it takes a little getting used to it first, but I feel like people laugh so much more and you get these really epic memories when you're not afraid to kill everybody,
right?
And sometimes they survive. Like sometimes we have these like, all right, the Kraken is here, like what are you guys gonna do? And like sometimes somehow they escape. But this also brings me to my next point. One of the adventures in Down Among the Dead is called Lost to the Locker, and it's a post TPK romp around Purgatory.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Like, if you kill all the players and like, let's say you only let them reroll characters after the encounter ends or something, you can, if you kill them all, you can have them wake up in Davy Jones's locker and they have to find a way to escape, and you can keep the campaign going that way. So, it kind of, the game is designed embracing death. Like there's a couple character class options that are like the Haunted Soul will let you play as a ghost or as a skeleton or a secret zombie.
Yeah, that's cool. So Down Among the Dead, by the way, folks, we got links to it down in the pinned comment or the description or somewhere down there, and then there are links to it in the chat floating around too. But you can go over there and pre-order now. There are options on there to get the full Pirate Borg book, like the original book. I know when I backed the Kickstarter, I got everything, the original book and everything, because I don't have a Pirate Borg book. And so when
I haven't given you one.
No, I don't have one. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well,
it's okay.
Well,
that's okay. I don't like. I have money, so I'm not gonna like bum a book off someone. Like I'll pay you money for the book, Sure. So, but anyway, I ordered it. So when is fulfillment supposed to be?
Our official announcement is by September. But we're hoping to beat that by a few months if possible. We're still not done with everything yet, but we're sending some of the stuff is getting proofed like this week. So it kind of depends.
Okay, cool.
Can I make a quick request to chat?
What's up?
I think they're kind of getting the hang of it, but nobody refer to me as Luke. Everybody call me Limithron, and I keep seeing my name in chat, and I'm like, oh, they're not talking about me.
There's two Lukes. That's a problem.
My official request is call me Limithron in chat.
All right, call him Limithron. They're all gonna like not call you Limithron now. I'm just gonna everybody's Luke. Luke 1 and Luke 2. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Now most people know you by Limithron, is that right?
No, I mean, I go. It's not like a total moniker. That's just my creative name.
Gotcha.
It's more like that's my Limithron is actually Sindarin for Light Wizard. It's my first D&D character.
Okay.
So you can call me either though. Nobody really calls me Lim. I'm not like at a con and people say, "Hey, Limithron, what's up?" People call me Luke.
Okay. All right. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So one of the things we were kind of chatting about before we started the live stream was just like running Kickstarters,
Yeah.
And like I think one of us made the comment about how no one really wants to know the real tips or the real advice to how to run like a $500,000 Kickstarter.
Yeah,
they want like the 7 quick tips or something about do this, and this, and you're good to go.
Yeah, sure.
So let's just talk about that. Like, what does it take to run a Kickstarter that hits $500,000?
It's a lot of work. I mean, I think if I could encapsulate it in a short answer, it's number one is you have to have built a community already. There's no way you're going to get 5,000 backers without any community. But doesn't like that very rarely would happen virally, unless it's like an IP thing, like if I've licensed to make some new RPG that's, based off of, like if I did Pirates of the Caribbean licensed by Disney, I could do that without any backing and it would get some virality to it. But other than that, you're going to need a community. And then too, like you really have to know how to do marketing, and that a lot of marketing relies on good visual assets.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of Kickstarter campaigns that go and like they have a good, strong pitch with text, but nobody's going to read that, especially in 2024. You need really strong visual pitch.
Yeah.
I always have a really strong trailer that I make myself. And I think they're usually good enough that people try to hire me or ask me who I hired to make them. So I'm assuming that has some element of, getting people pumped about it. That involves taking the art and cutting it up into layers and putting into a 3D program called Blender, and then using a parallax effect and moving a camera around to make it look like kind of like a video game trailer. I taught myself all that stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna hit you up later to ask you about that, because our next Kickstarter is a board game. It's called Dungeon Drifters. We're making a board game. And because we're doing something different, and it's way more fun to make a board game than to make like another D&D product or something. So
it's weird that you say that, because the Archon guys are the opposite. They're like, man, we should make an RPG product. These board games, like, there's so many components that you have to get proof from the factory, and there's so much beta testing. Like if you ship a board game that's not well tested, people will not like it,
I understand. Like we were looking at usually we fulfill our Kickstarters in under a year. That's our standard. But we were looking at the board game, and we're like, there's no way we're gonna launch this and fulfill under a year. It's probably gonna be 2 years. It's just and that's kind of standard. We were looking at all these different board games. It's that's normal. It takes a couple years. And so we're like, we're gonna we'll do the Kickstarter, and then we'll order a bunch of prototypes. We'll do a bunch of play testing. What we're thinking of doing is probably at Gen Con, we'll probably get like an entire room and just try to fill it with play testers, to just kind of get feedback and stuff. But yeah, there's gonna be a lot of play testing and a lot of iteration and stuff, and it's just like, that's cool. But we don't have tons of fiddly bits on ours. It's our first board game ever, so we're trying to make it like not super complex, right? We're not doing Gloomhaven. That's like bonkers, we're not doing that. We're gonna make it as simple as possible. But what I was getting at is like the trailer, like the Kickstarter, like little trailer type thing, you know what I mean? I know what you're talking about, where you have like the artwork and it looks it's moving around and the camera's moving, and that stuff looks killer, and that's the sort of thing that would look great on like a board game, little 30-second trailer for the board game or something. I don't have the video skills to do anything near that, so anyway,
usually that stuff gets outsourced. I just happen to have, I'm kind of like Liam Neeson in Taken, where he's like, I have a particular set of skills, because I have done a lot of things in my life. I'm 41. I've owned several businesses. I've been in the concert industry for over a decade. Like I ran a software company. Like I just have learned a lot of things, and mostly I've learned how to learn. So like with Blender, say what you will about ChatGPT, it's kind of a problem for writing stuff in our industry. I don't use it for that. I use it to teach me. And I use ChatGPT to teach myself, like, how do I do this in Blender? Okay, this is a problem. What's happening? And it's really, really good at that.
Interesting. That's good.
And I've used that to basically teach myself how to, like I have a background in graphic design, and I obviously did all the art. So but yeah, really good trailer. You need to be always building an email list, like my brother Tyler said in the chat.
Yes.
Email list is everything, because you own those emails. For both Kickstarters, we run targeted pre-campaign ads on Facebook, on Meta, that capture emails rather than saying follow the campaign. Like, hey, give us your email so that we can have a conversation with them moving forward.
Now, do you use Meta's lead gen basically for that, or do you use something like Launch Boom for that?
We used Launch Boom this year, which worked really well, but we also run lead gen ads on Meta, which is basically like, the thing about Meta is like they really like if you keep the traffic on the site, you'll get pushed better. So that means like if I run an ad that says, hey, find out about Down Among the Dead, and it's a link that leads away from Facebook, they won't push it as much as, hey, find out about Down Among the Dead, and they click on it and it's a form in Facebook where you can find out like that. Those work really, really well. One thing I like to talk about too when I'm talking about how to run a Kickstarter is that people, especially creators, are always really afraid to run ads. Like they really think it's like kind of, the corporate evil side of the industry. And I always try to tell those people, like, you have to remember that like we have so many members of our community that found us because of an ad. And if you reframe how you think about it and think of it as you're paying to get those people into your community. You're paying to like broadcast the message instead of like, I'm paying money to get more money. Like, I think,
but everybody has bills to pay. Like, I just don't understand. It seems like, to a certain extent, there's some mentality among some people that they think that to be a pure creator, you can't make money from it. You just have to create for the sake of creating, and you live on the street in a cardboard box, but you're a creator, and that's what's important.
Yeah, well,
and that's just silly.
Having spent many, many years, I went to school, I went to college for music, and having worked in the music industry, I can tell you that, the best albums in your collection are there because those bands had financing, whether it's for themselves or through a label or whatever. It's the fans paid for them to have a lifestyle so they could get to their best work. Almost never is the best, the first album, the best album from a band, sometimes it's 10 albums in, or look at a band like Radiohead. Like that band is able to make such incredible music because they have the support of their fans. So I think anybody who's saying like you shouldn't be making money in the industry, they don't want the best out of people, because I think some people will do their best work when, like me, I'm not a hobbyist. I am a full-timer in anything that I do, and I do the best work multiple years into full-time in it. I discover new things, I learn new skills, and I think that everybody who plays Pirate Borg benefits from it being a full-time paid endeavor. We have a full-time staff of 3 now. This Kickstarter did $500,000, and like we're making moves up to scale things up to make more stuff. Like, everybody wins by that. It's like the only people who don't win are people who have professional jealousy. That's my personal opinion.
Yes, I think there's a good bit of that out there. Every time I get like some sort of hate comment on wherever, it always goes through my mind, is this person just jealous because like I'm successful doing what I do, and like they are something, So
yeah, there are people who are just anti-capitalist. Like, that's you're totally in your right to feel that way. That's just, I'm a small business owner, so that's not how I think.
No, I don't think that way either. And it's a little hypocritical to sit, sipping a Starbucks on your iPad or your iMac, and then criticize capitalism. You know what I mean? It's like, really, dude? Really? Come on, buddy. Everything you have is owned to capitalism. Come on, buddy. Think about that, So I don't know. That's just a little hypocritical, but hey, what do I know? I'm just a sleazy capitalist, I suppose. So email list for sure. The running ads thing, I didn't know that there was this thing about people thinking they shouldn't run paid ads.
Well, I think it usually more comes on the creator side. I think people think, there's a lot of fear around it. I think a lot of people are like, I can't afford to spend money beforehand.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, and my opinion is you can't afford to not. That's the way I really look at it. It's like, if you're going to put X amount of hours of your life into a project and then not do any marketing, or hire somebody else to do the marketing for you, like, how is anybody going to know about it? Like, especially in 2024, 2025, like, the likelihood that you make something that's so good that only virality gets it out there is almost nil. Like, the algorithm just doesn't work that way. It needs mass impact. Now, if someone like you, who has a really popular channel, like, you could make something with less marketing and just push to your base, but you've already done years of marketing for that, years of growing your brand. So it's kind of like,
So. And then you also, we've done 4 Kickstarters, so every Kickstarter you do, you have more people that like become basically like, every project, if they backed a previous project in Kickstarter and you launch a new one, they get notified about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And we have their emails and stuff, so we can like send a little message and say, hey guys, we're doing another one. So like every Kickstarter you do can get a little bit bigger. It depends, you know what I mean?
Well, and also people come and go from the hobby, and as your product changes and your genre changes, I mean, like, I'm pretty pirate focused, but people come and go. I guarantee you, I had people who were like really into their Ghost of Saltmarsh campaign, who were a huge Patreon supporter of mine and had left the hobby before I made Pirate Borg. We had people. I run a monthly meetup group in Denver called Ship of the Dead, which is also the name of my podcast. And I had people who came last week who had never played D&D. They had played Mork Borg and wanted to try Pirate Borg. Like, we're in a new era where there are new people coming and going all the time. So that marketing push, like, you know, you don't know. Maybe a guy clicked on some YouTube videos, or he like looked up Pirate RPG, and now he's going to see one of my ads, and then he's going to find a fully rich, vibrant community of Pirate Borg players and GMs. Like, that's the idea, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think one of the things, as far as like, it's ads, but it's not paid ads, but just like when you're a content creator talking about your own products in your content, like you have a podcast or something.
Yeah.
I bet you talk about your Kickstarter in your podcast a couple times or something.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, hey guys, by the way, Kickstarter's live, you know.
Yeah, of course.
So
and I've actually found too. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I guess what I was getting at is that it seems like sometimes some people, not everybody, but some people will try to get down on you because you're talking about your product in your videos, you know. Like, for instance, I have a 15-minute video that talks about game master advice for whatever, you know what I mean, how to tell an engaging story, and for a minute I talk about one of my products, you know. And it's like, it seems like sometimes people don't like that, right? But I've always thought, like, if you spent, you know, like half a year of your life creating a product that you believe in and that you think is awesome, why wouldn't you tell people about it? You know, like, do you not like your own thing you created? Are you ashamed of it to not tell people? Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I think people don't want to come off as being, you know, and we all know that guy who's like always pushing his own stuff. Like, you got to walk that line, you know?
Yeah, you do. Yeah. But you got to talk about your stuff too, you know, and otherwise, like, how are anybody going to know about it? You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. All right, so you got to develop a following. We talked about that. We talked about emails. We talked about paid ads and stuff. Anything else for running a good Kickstarter?
For me, the most important thing that I think is very, very important, you know, why are you making something if you don't really want it to exist? I think the most important thing is that you need to be making something that either you need to exist in the world or that the world needs to exist. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons Pirate Borg has done so well, is that if you're like, I want to play a pirate campaign, well, what are your options? You could play Skull and Shackles with Pathfinder. You could play Ghosts of Saltmarsh. You could play an old Savage Worlds book. You could play 7th Sea. None of these get anywhere close to the kind of experience that I wanted in a pirate game, which is grimdark pirates. The world is ending. There's necromancy. Like, you are a terrible person and you could die at any moment. And the whole thing looks like Sea of Thieves meets Darkest Dungeon. That doesn't exist. So I made it. And I feel like if your project doesn't pass that test, then why are you making it? Why are you spending time to make something that somebody else already made? You got to have your own voice. You got to have your own thing that you want to get into the world.
Right.
And if you have that passion, I think people will tell. I mean, people tell me all the time that they can tell there's a lot of passion in Pirate Borg.
Yeah.
Because it has like literally in 40 years or maybe 35 years of being inspired by pirate, fantastical pirate lore. It's baked in there. You can just tell that I, played Monkey Island growing up, and that I have played a lot of Oak and Iron, and that I've played a lot of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. You can just sense those things. That I've read a lot of history because there's a lot of history in the book. So that would be honestly my biggest piece of advice. It's kind of like the if you build it, they will come thing. If you have something that the world needs that you can't get anywhere else, then you got to make it,
Right.
Same thing with music,
And that's also going to, if it doesn't already exist, it scratches that itch that people have, it's probably going to do better from like a financial, sales standpoint too, because nobody has it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you're like, I'm making this campaign and there's like this ring and you have to destroy it in lava on the other side of the map. It's like, well, come on, we've seen that thing 8,000 times. Like,
there's something to
twist.
There's something to be said about like creating something that you want to create, that you're excited to create, because I think that one of the things that I'm personally running into right now is that like we do all these books, but at this point, like, I am not excited to make these books. I know I'm gonna make enough money on them to keep running the business and pay the employees and pay all of our freelancers and pay all the cartographers and artists. Like, it's gonna make money, you know what I mean? But it's not something that really excites me.
And so that's one of the big reasons that our next Kickstarter is going to be a board game. Because like I need something different, man. Something more challenging. Like we can practically make books in our sleep at this point. So it's like I want to like do something different. And the other thing is I've been playing lots of board games with my friend Eric, especially. He lives near where I live and stuff. And I've been playing things like Zombicide. We did Gloomhaven. We do just random stuff like Wingspan. Just a whole bunch. Not all just like kill monsters and stuff, but just a bunches of different stuff. And one of the things that I've at least been noticing about many of these, like go into a location and kill monsters type of thing, whether it's Zombicide or Conan or Gloomhaven or what did we play, Massive Darkness and stuff, is that all of these ones that I played, they're all scenario based, and it takes you about an hour to set up the scenario. Yeah. It's just like, wow, an hour setup before you can even play the game.
I heard that the app version of Gloomhaven is good for that. That you can just play it in the
I've
app.
heard the same. I've heard the same. But then you miss out on like the in-person playing with your friends thing, which is like
then you're playing a video game.
Which is the fun part. So anyway, my drive for Dungeon Drifters that we're launching is to scratch that itch of being able to do essentially a dungeon delve, dungeon exploration, kill monsters, take their loot, power up, and be awesome. But to do it without an hour setup time, and not have streamlined rules where it's not a thick book, that you have to learn and stuff. It's like I want the rules to be able to learn in 10 minutes. I want to be able to put out a map, populate the first room, and start playing. You know what I mean? And I also want it to be like not maybe kind of like party game adjacent, where you can kind of play it with people who aren't like super hardcore into like like something like Gloomhaven or something. Like Gloomhaven might be too heavy for them, so they want something a little bit lighter, you know what I mean? And they can just pick up Dungeon Drifters and go, you know what I mean? But there's enough strategy and tactics and stuff in there. There's enough meat in there that like an advanced gamer can still kind of scratch that itch too, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to I'm doing, I guess what you said about doing something that you really want to do is kind of, it resonates with me, because that's like why we're doing Dungeon Drifters, because I haven't played a game like that, and I really want a game like that, because man, I can't sit around for an hour. Like the last time I went to play a game, like it was kind of already set up, and so when I got there, and I got there late even, it still took another half hour to get the game set up. And it was already mostly set up when I got there. And I'm just like, I can't sit through these hour setup times for scenarios, man. I want something that's fast. You can play it, So, but the thing is that when you're creating something for like scratching that itch and doing something that you want to do, it's more exciting. You have more energy. You have more focus. Like, it doesn't feel quite as much like work. You know what I mean? So it definitely helps from just kind of like getting it done, creative aspect, So
yeah, and I think there's also like a higher level thing of, what are we doing with our time on the planet?
Yeah, that's true.
It's like why we're just like churning the industrial or the capitalist machine to just make money so that we can pay for crap we don't need. It's like
it's Fight Club, baby.
We're like making exactly. But if we're like making things from our imaginations that are enriching people's lives, like I can't. So as a point of example, I woke up we were at PAX Unplugged this past weekend, and I woke up on Thursday, which is like the load-in day, and I like wasn't very happy to be there for some reason. I think it's just like, there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of shows this year, and I was like looking at myself in the mirror, like, what job would I rather have? Like a genie shows up, I rub the lantern, the genie shows up, and he's like, Luke, well, I'm here. I'll give you any job in the world. And I literally could not think of a job that I would rather have.
Yeah.
And I was, I'm very, very, very thankful for that. And I really feel like if you end up, you have to go where you have to do what makes sense for you and your family financially. But if you end up in something where you can pick A or B, and A is the thing that you really care about, and B is the more money thing, I would really encourage you to go with A and hope that it eventually gets to a better financial spot for you. So,
yeah, the idea of like, what would you rather be doing? Because there are some days when it's kind of rough. Like you got to write stuff, or you got to do some more layout and design, and you're not feeling the groove.
but like, what could you be doing? You know, I used to work on financial services and go into an office every day, and it was a good job. I got paid well. I worked with professionals. I worked with people I enjoyed working with and stuff. But at the end of the day, you're just sitting in an office and you're making rich, super. We were selling annuities, which is like a product that is for the ultra rich. You know, it's actually a pretty bad product, but rich people like to diversify, so they get annuities, which are a really bad product. It's essentially just like investing in the market, only with lots of fees added onto it. I don't know. It's really stupid. But anyway, rich people like annuities, and that company made tons of money. But like, you're like, would I rather? So like right now, sometimes I have to write a script for a video, and I'm like, I don't feel like doing it, you know. Or I have to like, you know, learn how to do Launch Boom better. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't feel like doing that. But it's like, really, Luke, would you really rather go to an office and do what you did before? It's like, nah, not really. So
yeah, I mean, I think gratitude is important in it. And
yeah.
You know, it could always be worse, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. So. Yeah. All right. You want to talk about, are we kind of petered out on the Kickstarter crap? Do you think?
I'm done to move on.
All right, cool. How about the Elon Musk thing taking over D&D? Because I'll tell you, man, like, I just saw a whole bunch of people upset about that, just freaking out. Usually I think it was on Twitter. I think there were some like YouTube videos and stuff too. But like, people were just really upset when all that stuff went down. So what are your thoughts on that?
Which way do you think they were upset?
Well, so basically the whole thing was Wizards of the Coast released some sort of like 50th anniversary something or other, and my understanding is, and I don't know a whole lot about it because I didn't have time to really read too deeply into it, but my understanding is they somehow disrespected the creators of D&D, right? Gygax and Arneson. So I think then they disrespected it, and so Elon Musk had said something like, "This is horse crap," you know what I mean, essentially, and then there was some tweets or something, and then basically he said, how much is Hasbro? Or how much is Hasbro?
Yeah. No,
how much is it?
I followed all this, but I'm saying which way do you think people are upset? Are they upset that
so
Elon Musk might buy Hasbro?
Right. So I'm putting put the context there. So it's like essentially the threat is I'm going to buy Hasbro, you know. And so are people upset? I think people are upset because Elon Musk is an extremely successful businessman. Isn't he the world's richest person? I think he is.
He's the first one to break 600 billion.
Yeah,
I think
he's number one. Yeah, he's number one. So like, he's extremely successful as a businessman, but at least recently, I don't know if this was true like a couple years ago, but at least recent. Well, I think when he bought Twitter, he became much more political. And now he's a very political person, right? Like,
yes, he's very political.
Exactly right. You like Elon Musk. You think politics. You know,
he's political, and he's like on Twitter. He's kind of a troll, which we didn't really know about his personality before. Nice. He'd just come out and do these keynotes, you know, and make tweets every now and then. But now that he owns Twitter, it's because he's definitely gotten a lot more political.
Okay, So I think that people are upset in part. What I think is probably, and I'm just guessing, this is all supposition, right, is people have trouble differentiating politics from business aspects. Like, instead of saying, hey, if Elon Musk bought Hasbro, would he make it better? And so what does that mean? So Elon Musk isn't going to run the day-to-day. He hires other people to run companies, right? So he's probably going to if he bought Hasbro, he would probably be like, all right, let's find out who all the chaff is, who are the people that are doing the bad stuff here. Let's get rid of them. Let's find some people who I think are gonna make this company good. And let's put them in positions.
I think the thing about Elon is because he's so what's the word? Egregious that he's gonna bring in people to they're worried about him reinforcing his own political ideology in the hobby that they love. I think that's what people are worried about. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong. I just think that's people are scared that their game that they love is going to get, squashed because a guy they don't like is now running it. I think, though, that Professor Dungeon Master, I don't know if you watch his videos, but he had a video about this recently, and I think that he really nailed it, that most people don't care who owns D&D, and that he is going to, regardless of who's in charge, they're still going to play D&D. You can't take D&D away from people, no matter who owns the company that owns the IP.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Like what you said at the beginning, like people are afraid that he'll take his politics and his views and put it into D&D, you know. But I will say that, like, you know, half of the world believes the opposite, and so that other half would probably welcome a change. You know what I mean? So it's like some people are going to be upset or happy either way, you know. So I think, you know what I'm saying? So what you're saying totally makes sense, you know what I mean? But there's like the other side to it too. Some people might see that as an improvement, you know, whereas others might see it as not an improvement. It just depends.
I mean, I think
you know
my personal opinion about it, without getting like too deep into it, is that like he said he was going to come like save Twitter, and now everybody is leaving Twitter. So I'm like I just started a Blue Sky account because everybody's gone. I was like, none of my stuff nobody talks on there anymore. I just want to be where the people are talking. So like, I don't know. Is it going to be a good thing? I don't know. It seems like beyond my scope to really
I wonder what the metrics say about like the actual volume and usage of Twitter, you know, like the actual metrics. It'd be interesting to actually see what they are.
There's just so many bots now, and there's so like I can't make any progress on that platform. And like Blue Sky, it kind of feels like what I imagine the old Google Plus days felt like. It's like all real people, and it's you know, I mean, obviously there's a political angle. I think a lot of people left Twitter for politics. Yeah, and like I'm just here to play Pirate Borg, you know, play D&D, so you know.
Yeah, so I think some people are just upset because they just don't like his politics, and so they just assume that he would probably do something bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the other thing though is, dude, if you had $600 billion, how could you possibly understand what someone like that thinks politically? Like even if me and him were hanging in the same room, he has a totally different set of priorities because he's in like a totally different part of society. You know, it's like what he wants politically. Like, I mean, I can't imagine someone like that even cares what you or me are doing with our lives because they're, you know, whatever.
Yeah. But I wonder, I don't know. It's just hard to know if he would, what he would do to D&D, you know, like if he'd make it better or worse, or if he would hire somebody who cares about the game and puts them in charge of it, you know. Because I don't know, it seemed with these executives we have right now, sometimes you got to wonder, do they really care about this, or I don't know.
I mean, I think the people running D&D day to day care about it a lot.
The day to day, sure, the day to day, but like the executives they bring in, that's the question mark, you know.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
but you know, there's nothing to say that Elon would put executives in place that care about it, you know. I don't know, but there's a part of me that wants to think that anybody running it could probably do better, but that's not necessarily true. But there's a part of me that wants to think that, you know.
Well, I mean, and they're kind of in the middle of a leadership change, so I don't really know that we've even seen what D&D looks like under the new leadership.
Yeah, what is it? Cynthia Williams, or whatever, she left, and then somebody else is coming in or something.
Yeah, but also, I mean, the thing about this though is, and I've said this a bunch on other podcasts, like, you know, Hasbro, Elon Musk aside, like, this is a corporate entity that we're talking about. Wizards of the Coast is owned by Hasbro.
Yeah.
Their responsibility is to make their shareholders happy, which means selling copies. This is a hobby, though, that does not require corporations to be involved for it to be successful. If you're making a video game, you're making a AAA video game, you need a corporation amount of people working on the game for it to be successful by modern standards.
Yeah.
If you're playing D&D, I'm walking proof you need one person. You need one person with an idea to make a book for you to enjoy at your table. You do not need an entire team of people. Now, if you get in the more traditional method, you need writers and layout people and really good artists to get that you know, like I couldn't make 5e on my own. There's way too much text and play testing and hours and hours of high level art. You need a larger team, but you don't need a corporation. So I think that everyone is like always talking about this, and the reality is, like, you know, you don't need that level. You don't need Elon Musk to save it because it's not ruined. Like, it's fine as it is. It's just maybe you're not playing the WotC book. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I totally hear that. I definitely don't think you need like a corporation to run to make a TTRPG book. You know, you for sure don't. Like, for you to do something like D&D 5th edition, I think you'd be surprised at how few people you actually need to do it. You know, I don't like, I look at the credits in some of these WotC books, and it's just like a massive amount of people. It doesn't take that many people. You know what I mean? I think that it takes fewer people than we think, to make these books.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of things. It's a lot of specialized jobs, and yeah.
I used to work at this financial service company, big corporate company. There's a lot of bloat. There's a lot of folks working there that don't really do a whole lot. You know what I mean? So I think that most companies, that tends to happen, where you just have a lot of people that kind of don't do a whole lot. And so the actual day-to-day work gets done by far fewer people than actually work there, Yeah. And I think that's probably true in almost any corporation,
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Yeah. But anyway,
what else we got?
I don't know. We have like an hour left to talk, dude. So we've talked about, like, we hit Pirate Borg stuff. We've talked about Kickstarter stuff. We've talked about Elon Musk, and now a whole bunch of people probably hate me because I wasn't just like, I hate Elon or something, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you were out there enough for someone to hate you. Who knows, though? You want to talk about the Dark Caribbean?
Okay, let's talk about it.
So,
what is the Dark Caribbean first?
Okay, so Dark Caribbean is the setting that's baked into Pirate Borg.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's also my setting book that I mentioned earlier. I've been working on for several years. I mean, yeah, I don't know. What are your listeners into? What do they want us to talk about? Maybe we should ask them.
I don't know, listeners. What do you want us to talk about?
Yeah, so I guess Dark Caribbean is like, I'm excited for it because we're making a Pirate Borg version and a 5th edition version. Okay. I'm very big. I'm really kind of like anti-gatekeeper, I don't really like when people are like, you have to play this thing this way. I really think people should play things their own way. So we're doing a 5th edition version and a Pirate Borg version. We kind of want to do a Shadow Dark version too, because all my line art would look really good in all black and white, and I really like Shadow Dark.
Yeah.
I think playing it Shadow Dark playing it Shadow Dark would be able to, like, playing it 5e, but with more deadly.
Yeah, it'd be really good. It'd be really good. Yeah.
So, but making 3 books is, and then it's like, are we making all our adventures for 3 systems? That's like,
oh my gosh, that's so much work. So dude, that's crazy. Right now, we publish Lair magazine for 5th edition and Pathfinder 2, and I got to tell you, it is a lot of work to convert one to the other. And one of the things that we've thought about too is, like, when we run our Kickstarters, it's like, so far we've only run our Kickstarters for 5th edition,
Yeah.
But for our next Layers and Legends 3 Kickstarter, that'll probably be like a year from now or something, like, we have Pathfinder 2 for all of it. Like, we could launch it for both 5th edition and Pathfinder 2. Our biggest fear is that if we launch the Kickstarter for both, we'll get like 2,000 backers for the 5th edition book and like 250 backers for the Pathfinder 2. And then what's going to happen is, when we order a print run for 250 books, it's going to cost us $100 per book to run it.
Yeah, it's going to be insane.
And we will lose our butts financially. And so it's like, at that point, we're like, okay, so that's a big risk, huge risk, right? So what do you do then? Well, you can't cancel if the 5th edition part's doing well, but the Pathfinder 2 is bombing, you can't cancel the Kickstarter. Okay, so what do you do then? Well, then I guess you either don't do the Pathfinder 2, or you split it into 2 Kickstarters. Do one for 5th edition, one for Pathfinder 2, because then if the Pathfinder 2 one doesn't work, you can just cancel it, if you can see that you're not making your funding goals. But then it's like, well, then I have to do the marketing and everything for 2 Kickstarters. And I know that the Pathfinder 2 one is probably not going to break 100K, and the 5th edition one's going to probably do $250,000, probably, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's the big thing that my team, Zach and I, have always been like, I don't know, Luke, that could totally fail. So like, when you're thinking like doing it for 3 different ones, are you concerned about something like that, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think, I think if you get to 500 copies, maybe 1,000 copies, I think you're going to be okay on the print run. I mean,
Yeah. You would be.
Yeah, I guess the thing for me, it's more about like what should exist. Like, if I make a Shadow Dark version of Dark Caribbean, like, are we bringing in new people? Are we providing people who are only going to play Shadow Dark a way to play in the Dark Caribbean that they wouldn't? Or are we just taking some of the Pirate Borg audience and pulling them out, cannibalizing that audience so that they have it in their ideal system? And like we want to make sure it's more A than it is B. You know, like if you
Yeah.
already have two versions, if you've got Pirate Borg and Shadow Dark, then I mean really it's about classes. You know, are the Shadow Dark people going to be able to like get? I don't know. So it's really more for me, honestly. I think they would all do well enough financially to make it worth it. It's really more of like, how long are we going to spend making the same book 3 times versus moving on to a new project? You know, or should we just not even make a 5th edition version and just keep making Pirate Borg stuff because that's really where our core audience is. Like, you know, it's one of those. You know,
I almost feel like with a setting book, it doesn't even have to be in my game system. Like I am literally running a Pathfinder 2 game and I'm using the Eberron campaign setting book for 5th edition. And I'm just converting stuff as needed. It's not a problem. I don't need Eberron and Pathfinder 2 to do it. And I feel like if I were running a 5th edition game and I were to pick up the Dark Caribbean campaign setting, like most of a campaign setting is just lore and information and NPCs and stuff. What are the actual game mechanics involved? Okay, there might be like a, you know, ship passage costs X amount. Well, I might have to know how to convert the cost of things from Pirate Borg into 5th edition. Okay, what else would I have to convert? Oh, there are some custom monsters, you know, in a campaign setting. It's like, oh, okay. Well, then couldn't there just be like a PDF that just says, hey, you know, by the way, you know, almost everything in the Pirate Borg book campaign setting, Dark Caribbean, could be used for any game system. But if you're running 5th edition, here's a PDF with all the monsters converted, you know, or you could publish it as a zine, which is like super easy to print, you know what I mean, or something, just like, you know, folded in half, stapled type of thing.
Well, I mean, here's the thing though, for me though, we've talked about that, the zine, like, oh, we could do a Shadow Dark zine.
Yeah.
It's like the hard part's not the printing for me, it's the layout and the art and the design. Like if we're gonna do all that, we could just do the book. Like it's not, you know. I think it's really more about, you know, there's only a few of us, so we have to focus our energy in the right places. It's like, is it worth it to our community and to us to put that energy into 3 books or to put it into 1? You know, that's kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I were excited about a Dark Caribbean campaign setting, like, and I were running Pathfinder 2 or 5th edition or Shadow Dark, and all you did was publish it in Pirate Borg, I'd just buy the Pirate Borg version and then I'd convert it. It's not that hard. It's not that hard, you know?
Well, and we already converted all the Pirate Borg monsters to 5th edition. There's a zine for that already. So.
Yeah, so I just grabbed the zine. I think that's, I don't know. That's just me. I know there are lots of people that would love to have it in like the official 5th edition or Shadow Dark one.
The thing for us more so is that we really are big into community and building the community. And despite the success of Pirate Borg, number of players wise, I think there's a lot of people out there who are only going to play 5th edition. I mean, it's less so now than it was a couple of years ago between all the new systems and the OGL stuff.
Yeah.
But we really, there's a lot of people out there who's like, yeah, look, this looks cool, but my players, they want to play 5e. So I really think that, you know, we want people to play in the Dark Caribbean. That's what I want. I just put so much work into it. The book that really got me going was Andrew Kolb's Neverland, which is a 5e book.
Yeah.
I'd love to see like that kind of thing where maybe they end up getting into Pirate Borg via the Dark Caribbean book, but I really think it'd be cool for people to like play those heroic, you know, level, probably, I don't think we're going to go to level 20 with the character classes, but level 10 heroic pirate, you know, it's a different kind of vibe, but it'd be cool to get both in, you know?
Yeah, so you're saying you want people to experience the Dark Caribbean. If you can reduce the friction so that it comes out in whatever game system they like, that's what you really want. You just want people to play it and love it and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like, I love that Pirate Borg has done as well as it has, but really, if you know, I hope that when people look at what I've done in 5 years, they'll know me as the Dark Caribbean guy, not the Pirate Borg guy, you know?
So the Dark Caribbean is like your baby then. That's what you really wanted to do.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, originally Pirate Borg was called Dark Caribbean, and one was for Morkborg and one was for 5e. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, you know, you don't get to pick what your hits are, you know. So you talk to anybody who's been in a band about that, But, well, you know, hopefully that's where the passion is. So
okay, so is it just that the Dark Caribbean has been taking a longer time for you to write, and is that why you haven't like launched it yet or something?
Well, yeah, I mean, like when Pirate Borg really just took off. both on the creative side and then on Kickstarter. So we kind of ran with that for a while, and then the past few years we've been busy getting that, running all the events for that. Like we ran like 100 events at Gen Con this year, so it's like we're pretty busy keeping that thing going. But yeah, I just also like I needed a new thing this year, which is why we did Down Among the Dead.
Yeah.
But I just don't want to rush it. It's just like I kind of think it'll be like my magnum opus. It's the thing I've always really wanted to make.
Yeah.
The thing that I really want to exist.
Right.
Blackbeard's a necromancer, and Ponce de Leon is like a tree lich, and like Fountain of Youth is a real place, but it's evil, and all those things that like I want people to be able to go to those places.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
that sounds really cool. And I think that a sea-based campaign would be lots of fun because you don't see.
Well, and also like Ghost of Saltmarsh, like those adventures were cool, but they did not there's no real information in that on how to run actual naval combat, and we have a 5th edition naval combat supplement, so it'd be cool to work all that stuff into a book.
I know. I think that's the biggest irony of some of those things. It's like you don't have naval combat in it. Well, it's like and then or they put out that one supplement, the campaign setting where you're traveling through space. Spelljammer, and there's no ship combat rules. And some of these things you're just like, what? And so lots of we made our own 5th edition naval combat supplement. Like lots of people are doing it because it just seemed so logical and so crazy that they just didn't put it in the book themselves. So
I think it's because you can't really do it without making it not 5e. Like you can't follow the framework they have and have good, strong vehicle combat. It's just a whole other. You have to bolt it on, and I think they're just afraid to do that. They think that it's going to diminish from what the core 5e experience is, and I don't know that they're wrong for that. But that's just like you can't have a Spelljammer campaign without ship combat.
But everybody wants it. Like
you're buying a ship. Like just put it in there, guys.
They're all worried about like having to bolt it on, and it's not actually 5e. It's going to feel like a mini game or a subsystem or something. But like the moment they release these products, the first thing everybody cries about on Twitter or wherever is, where's the naval combat? Where's the ship combat? It's Spelljammer. Come on, guys. It's like it's like I don't know, man.
We've had people convert my ship combat to Spelljammer, and people when it came out, everyone was asking me if I was going to do it, and I was going to. I was like, okay, we're going to do Limithron's Guide to Space Combat, But then I don't know. It's just like I got to go where my heart is. Like I didn't. That would have been the one if I was a money guy. I would have gone. I would have made that right away. But I'm not. I'm a passion guy. I'm a theme guy, a lore guy. That's what we're focusing on is the stuff that we really want to exist in the world. Someone in chat mentioned Call from the Deep. This is a JVC Perry adventure for 5th edition. It's a DM's Guild adventure. It's incredible. And JVC Perry has done some work for Pirate Borg. He's the only guy who's written official Limithron released Pirate Borg content. We have an adventure called Sinking of Cathagan that JVC and I worked on. Amazing writer. Definitely check that out if you want to run a 5e campaign in like Faerun, Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, that's awesome. We had somebody else in chat said
somebody asked about Skeleton Point.
Okay.
Somebody asked, so Skeleton Point is the Curse of Skeleton Point is the adventure that comes in the back of Pirate Borg. And basically spoilers, don't listen if you don't want.
Wait,
spoilers.
I'm playing this right now.
Oh, then I won't tell you. Never mind.
Yeah, because we don't know what's causing the curse, and that dumb skeleton king won't die. So yeah,
I love this. I won't say. I'm glad you said something then.
Yeah,
I was gonna answer this guy's
no,
question,
I'm playing that right now. Yeah.
Well, here I'll give a non-spoiler answer. He asked like, what do you do if the players accidentally kill the governor's daughter? And I would say you roll with it because that
was my group. I was the one who killed the governor's daughter. I was trying to knock her out because she was like crazy or something. And so I was just gonna knock her out with like, the basket hilt of my rapier or something. Yeah. And then it actually killed her. And so I was the one that did that.
Oops.
So now I know that was a plot important NPC.
I mean, you know, she's like the motivator for that whole portion. But you know, it's designed in a way where like, well, then you're just gonna have to roll with it. I mean, I know what I would tell you, but I won't say it because I don't want to spoil Luke's game.
Yeah, I was the one that did that too.
Yeah.
Somebody else asked the question. Where was that? How big a book would Dark Caribbean come out as page-wise? Like, what do you?
Oh yeah,
what do you think that would be?
So it's about 300 pages right now, A5.
Okay.
A lot of that is just like temp placeholders. Like I know that how many pages I'll need for this, how many pages I'll need for that. It could be longer, and it's possible that we end up breaking it into multiple books. I hope to not do that. But the 5th edition version is not an A5 book. It's a letter size book, like your normal 5e books. So we actually have a little bit more room. But we're also converting Pirate Borg to 5th edition. So we're going to have, we're going to have the player classes and then like all the bestiary that was in Pirate Borg and the naval combat. That will all be converted, and that'll be probably its own book.
That'll be like a future Kickstarter or something?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to all be part of the same Dark Caribbean Kickstarter.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think it'll be a Pirate Borg setting book, and then a 5e setting book, and then a 5e. Maybe that could be a slipcase of setting book, player book, GM book.
Interesting. Yeah. That's I mean, that would make for a really financially successful Kickstarter, because once you start to get like your average pledge around 100 or a little bit higher, which you definitely get if you had 3 books in it, you know, then you start, your 5,000 backers aren't just 150K, they're like 750K. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what we ran into this last one. Was we have that Down Among the Dead, but we also have another book called Cabin Fever, which is a third-party written book. Yeah. And we have a starter kit, which we haven't talked about yet, and then a bunch of add-ons like dice and naval combat mats. So yeah, this last Kickstarter, I mean, that's how we got to 620,000 was by having a higher pledge amount. I mean, you know, that's the business side, but the fun side of it is that it's like all just more stuff that I just wanted. Like I just kept. You should have seen the meetings with my team. We're like, okay, I want. I saw this starter kit at Gen Con, and now I want to do starter set. So we added that, like, just because I want it to exist. It's like, you know, it's not profit driven. That's like just the bonus side, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we like so Zach, who's Goliath Cleric in chat, he's my full time, and then we have a bunch of freelancers and stuff like that. But he and I are basically the ones running the business, and we think we tend a little bit more toward like, okay, yeah, we want to do it. That would be fun, but will we make any money? You know, or are we gonna spend like tons of time and like have no return on it, you know? Because that's I think it sounds like we tend to put a little bit more toward priority, like, you know, making sure that that's going to be viable financially, like, as opposed to like, if we lose money, who cares? Let's just do it because I want it to exist. You know,
I do want to be clear. Like, I haven't had any misses yet. So when I make a product that I really want to exist and nobody else wants it, then I'll have to probably reevaluate. But so far, I've been fortunate that people have wanted the things that I want, which I think is logical. I really care about the setting and I care about the game, and I know what it is missing. So when we're like, I want to make a starter set, it's because I want to make a deluxe adventure, and I want people to have a player's guidebook that's separate from the core book, and I want there to be fold-out maps. Like, I want all those things,
right?
You know, so
we have a product that we do that we're in the red on, and we've been in the red on ever since we launched it, which is about a year and a half ago, and so it's just like every single month it's a lot of effort for us. We're spending a lot of money to do different things for it, you know, and it's just been in the red, and it's not going out of the red. It's probably getting worse, and so it's like, and when you're spending a lot of time and effort on that and it's just not working, you know, you start to be like, you know, it's like beating your head against a wall, man. I think we're done with this, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But fortunately, it's not any of our big, huge ones, you know, because that would really suck. But there was another question in here.
Oh, JP Couvert is here, who has made a bunch of really cool zines.
Oh, yeah? Oh, cool.
Yeah, he gave me Starborg at Gen Con this year, which is really cool. But JP, what's the name of the one that Professor Dungeon Master loves so much? It's like I can never remember the name of it. He'll mention it here. He asked about community building. If we could talk about
that's what I want. That was the question I want to talk about. He said what were your recommendations on community building and stuff like that?
Yeah, we work really hard to make our Discord a really. Can you hold on 1 second, Luke? My dog is going nuts. I'm just gonna open the door for him. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, my dog is just. Guys, we'll go to full screen on my dog so you can take a look at my dog. Let's see. Where is my dog? Where's my button? I got my wrong button. There we go. My dog is just sitting here.
Yeah, Dragontown in the darkness below. That's it.
I'm showing everybody my dog full screen.
Nice.
She's just sitting in her little bed being good.
Yeah, Yogi, he looks like a little Ewok. He'd be hanging out with me, but I think he thinks my wife is upstairs and she's not, but he doesn't know that. So.
Okay. Nice. So community building.
Yeah. So for us, my thing started with Patreon, which is kind of inherently you're building a community that will support you for your creations.
How do you build Patreon?
Oh, well, I don't know how you build them now. Mine, I really built mostly via Reddit.
Okay.
It's mostly battle maps, and I'll make, 10 versions of a battle map and then give out one of them with a grid and a watermark for free.
Okay.
So basically everybody gets the fruits of my labor on some level. And then if you want, higher resolution, no grids, you want the on fire version or the night version or the haunted version.
Got it.
Sign up for the Patreon.
Nice. Perfect.
But Reddit is different now. It's much more algorithm driven than it used to be.
Okay.
So it's a little hard. I used to be able to post a map and get 1,000 upvotes, and now I lucky to get 50 or 60 sometimes.
Yeah.
And I've gotten better. It's not a quality thing, I don't think. Or maybe I've gone too far. Maybe I used to be better. Who knows? But yeah, building communities, like finding ways to get people into your funnel is what they call it in the industry, and then like rewarding them for being there. Like we work really hard on our Harbor Master program, which is a GM program that you get physical rewards for running public Pirate Borg games. I think the 8 game reward was a D2 metal coin that says Harbor Master on it that you can only get by running games. We do a lot of stuff like that, and we just really try to be like interactive and supportive of our community. Tyler and I have always said we just want to make the company that we always wished existed, and I think there's so many 12 games for the coins. Thank Tyler. There are so many publishers out there that are very kind of closed, and they're not accessible, and you don't know what they think about their games, and you don't know what they're working on, and we try to be the opposite. I mean, my door's not always open, but you can definitely come into the Discord and ask questions, and there's a good chance that I will reply or tell you what I meant by a ruling, rather than cryptic like tweets that you have to decide. I remember I read so many Jeremy Crawford tweets that were like, wait, he answered the question, but he didn't really answer the question. Is
that sometimes the same rule question will get tweets that contradict themselves and answer it in a different way. And then you're just, I did a skit for a video on this recently. I don't know if it's live yet, but essentially I have a rules lawyer who's arguing that like you have to play it by the book, because like you can't even tell what the game designers actually meant, and if you ask them, sometimes they'll give you conflicting answers. So like your only recourse is to go by what the book says, period. So
I mean, to counter, I would say the only resource is to just follow your own compass and do what your table needs. We're very straightforward about that on Pirate Borg.
I'm talking, this was like a skit. It was like a satire type of thing. That's not what I think.
Okay.
That's not what I think. That's what the rules lawyer in my skit was purporting. So, but you brought up the whole Jeremy Crawford tweet thing, and that reminded me of the skit. So that's what I was
this is
about.
Also one of the benefits of being a rules-like game is like the number one rule in the Pirate Borg Ship of the Dead Discord server is do what is right for your table. People are all the time, well, what did you mean by this? How much does this cost? How much? It's like, dude, you decide. I'm here to tell you that you should decide. Like
Yeah.
the reason it's in the book is to inspire you, not to tell you how it. Like, the last thing we want are players opening the book and telling the GM no because of a ruling in the book. I hate that kind of D&D. I don't want any part of that kind of D&D. There are places for that. Some people love that kind of D&D. I just am so sick of my players being like, it says this. That's not the vibe that we want. We want it to be a fun, collaborative storytelling adventure where you could die at any second.
Yeah, that's good. So I think you mentioned the Patreon, you mentioned Discord as being a community building.
Pinterest has done really well for us.
Okay. Because you have all the map assets.
Go there for battle maps. Yeah. It's always hard for me when I have to answer these questions. It's like, well, what worked for me is not necessarily a template. Like, I'm happy to share that all the time. I'm very, very happy to share it. I have a very unique path because Pirates is such a niche and battle maps is such a niche.
Yeah.
And Borg is such a niche. They're all very like specific communities. Like, if you want to write a 5e adventure, I've done that, but they haven't, experienced the success I have in other ways. So.
Right. I think everybody's path is going to be unique about how they build community, because like the way you build community isn't the way I build it,
Sure.
Like, mine is mostly just through my YouTube videos, and then I do live streams every week, which I talk with people and engage with people, and then we have a Discord. There are lots of people on it, but I'm too busy creating all of these different products that we create to I have to be selective about where I engage and where I spend my time. So like, if I'm on Discord all day, like, nobody's getting Layer Magazine. You're not getting Layers and Legends 2. You're not going to get Dungeon Drifters. You're not getting anything. It's just Luke's going to be on Discord all day. And then 3 months from now, people are going to be complaining they didn't get their products. And I'll be like, but you all told me that you wanted me to engage more on Discord. So it's like, I have to be selective. So
I just try to do it in batches, because I do, like, especially when we're play testing something.
Yeah.
Like when I was writing Pirate Borg, you really want feedback when you're writing a game. Because if something's not working or people keep asking the same questions, it's good to know to fix that. But at the same time, you can batch that, and it's really easy to just get sucked into conversations on Discord. So I've done a lot. I've worked really hard over the past few months, especially to kind of shift to this like deep work mindset. There's a really great book by Cal Newport called Deep Work, where you're kind of batching and really turning off distractions so you can get deep. I mean, when you're writing something, it really is. You don't really get going until you're an hour in. So if you're distracting yourself every couple seconds,
I think I have that book called Deep Work. It sounds a whole lot more like deep than it actually is. I think all it really is turn off all of the distractions and just get to work and focus on something. And
but I mean, he talks about doing it on a larger scale too. He talks about professors who take sabbaticals, or people who will go out, turn off distractions for weeks or months at a time. And I'm like, well, dude, I still got a company to run.
You got a company to run. Yeah. I think the batching is huge too. Like, batching is big. Like, you look at emails. I look at my emails usually 3 times a week in one batch, and I take care of it all. I have people that message me on Patreon. They need past issues of Layer Magazine once a week. I answer them all. You can't be jumping all over the place on all these different platforms every day. Otherwise, you never get anything done. You're always task switching. So okay, that was the community question. Any other questions from people in the viewers?
Oh, we're question time.
I mean, it's question time. Yeah, the last half hour, it's question time. Also, we do have a giveaway going on. Hopefully one of our moderators can throw a link to it in the chat. Oh, it's right there in the chat. You're going to get the winner will get $50 DM Layer Store credit. We will draw the winner at the end of the live stream. Somebody's got to remind me to do that, because I almost always forget to do that when I have a guest, right? Nearly forget when I have a guest, because all the normal rules of the live stream go out the window and I'm just focusing on talking to someone, But the winner is going to get $50 DM Layer Store credit. We got 5th edition stuff over there. We got Pathfinder 2 stuff. We got maps and crap over there. So sign up for that. It's free. How is the dog? My dog? Well, I mean, I have a new dog now. We had our old dog passed away. She had kidney disease. So, but now we have a new dog. Have you not seen my new dog? Who is this? Anna Lee? Oh, I guess I gotta pull my dog up on the stream now.
You had like a cam for it earlier.
Yeah. What are you doing down there? So I'll show you the camera for it, and then I'll pull him up on stream. There she is. Her name is Princess Tragedy. Princess Tragedy. That's her name. All right, come here. Let's go. Oh. She's sleeping. There we go. Princess Tragedy. We don't know what she is. I think she's like a Chihuahua mix or something.
Yeah, it looks like a little Chihuahua in there.
Yeah, I was looking at a Chihuahua Jack Russell mix, and it looks pretty. Like the coat coloration didn't look the same, but you know that's variable, I suppose. But the body form did. But she's adorable, and she loves the cats. She likes to play with the cats, so she'll like run up to a cat, you know, and the cat thinks is terrified, like I'm gonna be attacked, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she just runs up and sniffs them and stuff. And one of our cats, Twitch, he's an old cat, and he walks with like a bow in his back. You know, I think he's probably got some arthritis or something going on, but he'll like walk around deliberately with a bow in his back, and she'll run up to him and put her paw on his back, and he doesn't like it. He's like, I am an old man. Leave me alone, a dog.
Yeah.
So, what kind of dog do you have?
I'm sorry. Oh, Yogi. He's like I think we think he's a Shih Tzu Schnauzer mix. He just looks like an Ewok, like especially when he hasn't had a haircut.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
So he's a little guy then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if it were earlier in the day, he'd be right here on this couch. You'd be able to see him. But
Okay.
This time of night, he's always looking for his mom to come home. So.
Yeah.
Someone asked about how I first got into gaming.
Okay. Yeah.
Said, let's see here. How did you get into gaming? What game did you first play? My first role-playing game experience, I think I was 11, and we were on vacation in Florida, and my cousin, who was in college, invited me out to play. It was Leading Edge Games Aliens system. You can probably guess it had a profound impact on me because I'm still wearing an alien
Oh
hat.
yeah. Was it a tabletop role-playing game?
It was, but
Okay.
and, you know, he was a really, really great GM, and I think he had pretty much that game is crap. If you go and read it now,
Oh, yeah.
But I think that he had really done what he needed to do to make it work for his group, and
Yeah.
he invited me to this college. It was like a college classroom on like a Saturday or a Sunday, and
Yeah.
they had, you know, he had like a big whiteboard there, and the group sat up in the chairs, and man, it was amazing. It was just like I think we both played multiple Marines because it was a large group of Marines, and I got to be like the sergeant that like ran down the hallway and the grenade blew up and like, you know, hit the alien back a bit, and it was just really, really great experience.
Yeah.
And then I ran a few Star Wars sessions for my brother
Okay.
and his friends. But I really was not big into tabletop role-playing games until recently, until like maybe 2018.
Okay.
I ended up running this game for my brother for his 30th birthday. I ran in the One Ring, and it was a lot to learn and run that, having never really played. And in preparation for that, we played some 5e to learn how that worked. But then, yeah, it just kind of picked up after that. I kind of got hooked. I was playing some D&D with some friends of my wife, and the game session wasn't that great. And I was like, this got to be better. So I started GMing, and you know, one thing led to the other. And now we're here. So
I think a lot of game masters become game masters because they were a player in a game that kind of sucked. And they're like, you know, I bet I can do better than this, man.
yeah.
And then they do it, and they find out it's more fun even too.
Well, part of that is just having the right group chemistry. I mean, it's just like dating or being in a band. It's like you've got guys who want to play different kinds of music. You know,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. But I was like looking for a specific vibe, and finally I found the right players, and that's a lot easier with the internet. But you know,
yeah. I mean, mine was just D&D. Like my grandma bought me a book, and it was second edition D&D Player's Handbook, and I didn't even know it was a game.
The black one?
No, this was like second edition.
Yeah, but was it 2 or like what do they call it? 2 revised with the
I'll show you the.
More questions. Have you got an OSC
Oh yeah,
campaign?
it is.
No.
It is black.
Yeah. Black. That's the one that's the first one I had too. We had that all 3 of those. So my brother, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, the first time I ever played was my brother and I got that starter set, the big black dragon.
Oh, okay.
And we played like one time in my 2.5 is what I would call that. Yeah. We played like one time in my grandparents' basement, and they were absolutely afraid of the satanic panic.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, "Do not tell your grandma you're playing that in the basement." You know? It didn't click with us. We didn't know what we were doing, and it had those like little punch out minis, and we didn't play. And you know, like I was into music in middle school and high school. The only time I was really playing tabletop games was when I was like in trouble and couldn't leave the house. So.
Yeah. Dude,
I played a lot of video games growing up. Video games is much more where my youth was spent.
Yeah, I played video games, a lot of video games too. I remember, so I was a missionary for 4 years down in Central America. And when I first got down there, I tried to get some people to play D&D with me. Now, I didn't bring any of my books, and so I literally ended up like writing the basic mechanics myself so that we could actually play.
Sure.
And then, but we were just using D6s, you know, and it was probably horribly done, right? But it was enough to be able to play the game. And so then I started to get some people together, and we got together twice to play the game, you know. And I was just calling it D&D because to me, like anything that's like monsters in a dungeon, magic items and crap and spells, that's D&D, right? So whatever.
Yeah.
And so like I was calling it D&D, but then I remember we played a couple times. And I remember that then, what was it? I think he was like a deacon or somebody in the church. I don't know. But he also worked at the school where I was also teaching at. And he came up to me and he's like, "I hear you've been playing this game, you know, with like people at church and stuff, you know." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, you can't play that game anymore. That's a bad game. You can't play that." And I was the thing is that if I hadn't called it D&D, if I'd called it anything else,
of course,
nobody would have known. They would have been like,
course,
"Oh, it's not a big deal. We're just going and killing orcs and stuff. Who cares?" But because I said D&D, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's a bad game. We can't play that game."
Yeah, you should have just called it like Lord of the Rings or something. You know?
Something, yeah. They would have not known. So anyway, I got banned from playing that. So you know what I did? So what I did then is like, all right, you won't let me play it like there. So I had the internet. So I did play by post. Have you ever done that? Play by post. That's what I was doing. I did play by post for like 2 years, you know. So when I was down there.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
You get a different, much more like, could be much more story deep if you know are playing by post.
Well,
I'm imagining.
So like I studied writing. So like my degree is in creative writing, right? English and creative writing. And so when I was DMing for play by post, like, you know, I would have the players all like tell me what they were doing and stuff, you know what I mean? And then I would do a write up that was like literally like writing a story with paragraphs and dialogue. It was the write up, you know, as like the summary post of what happened, and it was totally like in-depth detailed. I was like totally taking my creative writing crap and just going for it, you know. So
that's great.
It was like writing a book, only, you know, my players decided what they were going to do, the dice had an impact, and then I wrote the summary type post, you know. So yeah, it was fun. I remember doing that, you know.
Luke, have you ever played any like BX or old school essentials?
I don't know that I have. I know that I've played all of the editions of D&D, right? So I know the old school essentials. No, I have played old school essentials. You're wearing it on your chest right now. I have played that. I played that I think I played one of those at Gamehole Con, or the con I went to before that. And
was it Gary Con?
It might have been.
but I definitely have played it. I thought it was really fun, and I went to a booth to get the books for Old School Essentials, but it looked like there were a couple of different versions of it, or it had different names or something, and I got confused about which ones to get, and so I didn't buy anything.
Yeah, I mean, Old School Essentials, it's just basic and expert boxes from 1981, like reformatted and rewritten.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to get them, but the way they had them designed, I wasn't sure which one was the correct one or the best one to get.
It's confusing, and they've done there's actually like, you know, charts to show you, because there's a player's tome and a referee's tome, and then there's box sets, and like and there's an advanced box set. It's like they don't all overlap, so it's definitely a little confusing.
I mean, it's unfortunate because like not everybody's like me, but at least for me as a consumer, because it was confusing, I ended up buying nothing, you know?
Yeah, that's too bad.
Which is probably not what they want.
I have mixed feelings about OSE. First, I want to say first off, Gavin Norman, who's the, you know, lead guy at Necrotic Gnome and does all the layout and writing, it's his thing. He is incredible. It's an amazing, like what he's done with it is amazing.
Yeah.
That being said, I think personally the D&D, the OSR specifically, has come a long way since 1981. And I've played a decent amount of OSE, and sometimes I'm just like, dude, we can do this better now. So like, forgive me for flaming anybody who's a huge fan. Like, I just feel like the classes in OSE, like the magic user specifically, and even the fighter, it's just like, give me something, you know. That's so. That aside, the stuff they make for OSE is amazing. The adventures.
What are your gripes with like those classes? Like, what are you referencing?
So magic, like for example, the magic user, a first level magic user in OSE, I think you get 3 spells. I might be wrong about that.
Okay.
If you play it totally raw, the spells are random. It says the GM can choose them for you or let you pick, but raw, it says they're random.
Yeah.
And it's use it and then lose it system.
Right.
So you might start with comprehend languages, knock, and like, you know, charm person. And then you use it once and it's gone until you rest. And I just feel like really magic user is the right word rather than wizard, because you're not doing anything magical. You know, I'll cast charm person on that guy. Oh, I failed, and you know, he made his save, and now I can't cast that until tomorrow. So that's my own gripe about
that. That is one of the things I love about Shadow Dark is that like you can cast that spell as many times as you want as long as you make your check.
Yeah,
you know,
I think Shadow Dark does a much better job giving you the old school vibe, but still not making it, you know, totally
brutal. It's not like demoralizing because like, oh, I can't do anything. I'll just sit here because I'm out of spells. Now, you could fail your check and then not be able to cast it, right? Or roll a 1 and then really have a problem.
Yeah, and I do like the old school style where
absolutely.
You have to figure out ways to solve the problem that aren't on your character sheet. Like, I'm really big into that. But I just feel like if you're going to go for the old school experience from a player character standpoint, Shadow Dark, Knave, what else? DCC, someone mentioned in the chat. There's like way more exciting options nowadays for players who are used to like so many options that I think it might be a bit, you know, too old school. The cool thing about BX is that it led to the OSR, which is all about bolting on your own stuff, and that's the exciting part. I think if you get into stuff like, have you checked out Knock, the magazines?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you got, dude, these magazines. Here, I'll grab one real quick.
Okay.
This is volume 1. So this is by the Mary Mushman. This is basically, they took a bunch of like the most famous OSR blogs, and like kind of reformatted and illustrated. And this thing is like the best like bathroom book you could ever have. It's like so inspiring because it's like all this stuff bolts into OSE or BX like right out the gate. So if anybody in here is thinking about getting to the OSR, don't be scared if you're like, I don't like the player classes in OSE, because I love OSE enough to wear their t-shirt on live stream. I think that their classes, it's just like an old school way of thinking, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I had fun playing it. For sure. Yeah. Almost bought the books. Almost bought them. DCC is tons of fun though. My only gripe about DCC is everybody wants to run stupid funnels. Like,
it's always funnels. Yeah.
Oh, I want to go. I want someone at a convention to run a DCC game, at least level 1, let me experience the actual game, because the funnel experience, it's just you're playing a generic fantasy dungeon delving game, you know, which is fine, but you can't experience the actual DCC system because everybody just runs funnels. It's so annoying.
I mean, I think a funnel's a great way to start a campaign. But like, yeah, I'm kind of over the funnel one-shot thing too. Like DCC is so fun at level 1. Magic users are so much fun. Fighters are amazing in DCC because they have mighty deeds. So if you don't know DCC, a fighter, they roll a D20 to attack, but they also roll starting at level 1 as a D3 for their mighty deeds. And the DC for the mighty deed is 3, so you need to roll the max 3. But if you hit and you make your mighty deed, you get to do whatever you declare your mighty deed as. So you might be like, okay, I'm gonna stab the necromancer with my sword, and this is my mighty deed. I'm gonna kick him off the side of the building. You know? Well, if you hit with both, like, then that happens, and it's just like such a cool way to get like another level of, like, you know, theme and mechanics into the game. And then that die levels up, so it gets easier to do your mighty deed the higher level you get, and you add that to hit. So if you're a fighter, you're not getting like a big bonus to hit, you get an extra die, so you're rolling 2 dice to hit. Very cool system. Very cool.
And that's why I'm so annoyed about funnels all the time, because like you can't experience the cool system when everybody just runs a funnel, you know?
I mean, it is a unique part of that system, which I think is probably why it happens so much. But I agree, especially when you're at like a convention, like funnels, are you supposed to have like a bunch of characters, and then like, well, if you're gonna give, that's just too many people. There's like so many, like that funnel we did with DM Dave at Gamehole was like, it's just too many people. Like we should have just split into 2 groups.
How many people were at the game table?
Didn't you play with us?
No, I didn't. I think I was invited, but I was busy running a game that I can't remember exactly.
And then we played Shadow Dark the next day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
mean, it was like, I think it was like 10 players. It was just like, man, so many players.
Oh, 10's a lot. Yeah. But a rules light game can handle more players better than like D&D or something like that.
I mean,
but 10 is still a lot.
At a funnel, you don't have anything but your core stats and like like a shovel, you know,
or a bucket or something. Yeah. All right, what do we got going on? Any more questions in here? You mentioned Knave. I don't have Knave. That's like it's like an OSR like adjacent game, right?
Yeah. So Knave is like it's Ben Milton Questing Beasts.
Right.
Game. Yeah. It's a classless system, so you're, kind of more defined by your inventory and then like things you might learn on the way. And Knave first edition was very small. It's just a very tiny zine. And so second edition, basically he fleshed some things out, and then there's just like a ton of random tables. It's a really, really good starter game for people new to the hobby, because you just have what's on your character sheet, and you have the core 6 stats. You can use it to run normal D&D adventures. But yeah, it's really, really well designed. It's a good game. It's also cool in that you're I might get this wrong because I've played so many different games, but you're basically your hit points kind of work like into the odd, which is they're like, it's like more like hit protection. And then after you are out of HP, you start losing inventory slots. And you are dead when your inventory slots are gone.
Interesting.
So you could be carrying around a bunch of treasure, but as you start taking damage, you can't carry as much. And then when you're out of that, your stuff, you're dead. It's a really great game for like kind of dungeon delvey D&D, but any kind really, especially since there's no classes baked in. You just get a different kind of flavor coming through it,
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of classless systems where you don't pick a class at the beginning, but like your actions and what you use in the game define your progression and what you get better at. Is that how that works in Knave, or is it not that?
It's a little bit less. It's not like Skyrim where like if you use your sword, you're better at swords.
Okay, I gotcha.
It's much more like you're an adventurer and you're not a hero, and like the stuff that you have determines the kind of stuff you can do.
Okay. I gotcha.
Yeah, it's a very rules light system. It's like you're not going to find a bunch of pages of abilities that you can take.
Okay.
And the spells are kind of like you kind of like can make your own spells.
Okay.
But it's definitely worth checking out. Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to think another one that I mean, obviously Shadow Dark is hot right now, but I'm really a big fan of Mouse Ritter, which is based on Into the Odd, which is kind of like a red wall. You're like playing as a little mouse.
Okay.
And yeah, somebody mentioned Black Sword Hack by the Merry Mushman. That's a great game as well. Very Conan inspired. Very kind of sword and sorcery D&D.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Right now I'm on a big Shadow Dark kick. Like I'm just.
Yeah, Shadow Dark's great. I mean,
out of it.
it's very light, so there's not you're not gonna have a lot of stuff in your character sheet telling you what your character can do. You have to kind of figure it out. So
yeah, I don't know. There's some things about it that I didn't know that I would enjoy that I do like
what
the light mechanic.
The light. I will use that in Pirate Borg. Whenever I'm running a Pirate Borg game, we have to track if we're going somewhere dark. I'm like set an hour timer.
Yeah, just a real world timer, like 1 hour. Now if you're in a combat, it's still an hour timer. You know what I mean? And I've had
but that represents like maybe it gets dropped, or a draft blows through.
Sure, sure, yeah. So I like that, and I like the way that my players are constantly like, oh no, is our timer gonna run out? Check the timer. And then they'll be like, how many like flasks of oil do we have remaining? Oh man, we gotta go back to town. We're getting low on oil. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know that it would work in like a 5th edition game because there's a different feel for running 5th edition. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
It's just this like Monty Hall, we're superheroes type of thing. But for like the gritty feel of Shadow Dark, it works beautifully. The inventory slots of having limited inventory slots and having to decide like, well, are you going to carry more torches or are you going to drop a torch to pick up that piece of loot or what? Like my group, they all got wheelbarrows. They're like, well, we're going to get wheelbarrows.
Yeah,
so they bought
carts.
Yeah, they bought a couple wheelbarrows. They had 2 wheelbarrows that they were pushing around. And then at one point they're like, I told them, like when you're in combat and stuff, like you can't just drop the torch or drop the light because it might go out. You have to take an entire action to set the thing down. And they're like, well, that sucks. Okay, let's put the lantern over the handle of the wheelbarrow, so it's just holding the lantern for us, And so then the wheelbarrow is giving off light. So like some of these restrictions and limitations, they just, I mean, it's not like ultra creativity, but like mild creativity to problem solve.
It's good.
You know what I mean? Which is kind of, I don't know.
I mean, that's the thing is like the lack of rules can really encourage a whole different kind of play. And that's really one of the things we've embraced with the Pirate Borg thing is like people ask us these really crunchy questions. They're like, yeah, you have to figure that out on your own at the table. And like, oh, then they learn how to figure things out at the table. And then all of a sudden they have like a whole other vibe at their table they didn't expect.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm enjoying the rules light stuff. I played Mothership.
I was just gonna say, have you played Mothership yet? Yeah.
No, I didn't just play Mothership. I played Mothership with like an all-star cast, in my opinion. A of like role players, voice acting. Like these guys were insane. So it was Baron DeRop was the game master, okay,
yeah.
And then Kelsey from Shadow Dark was in the game. I had the guy who writes So You Want to Be a Game Master. His name is slipping my mind.
Yeah.
I got his book on my shelf, but he was in that game. There was
Jason Alexander.
Yes, thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Justin Alexander, I think.
Justin Alexander.
Yeah.
Jason Alexander's the Seinfeld dude. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he was in there. Oh, yeah, the Seinfeld guy. Yeah, on the couch.
Was this like a live stream or just
no?
Game?
It was a private game. So he was in that thing, and then there was this guy who has a YouTube channel. His YouTube channel is like Me, Myself, and Die. I believe.
He does a solo play.
Yeah, so that guy's awesome too. So and then I swear there was somebody else in there, and I swear he was probably like an influencer or content creator. I just didn't know who he was, but there was another person there. But anyway, my point is that every single person at that table was like crazy in character. And they were doing amazing voices, like Justin Alexander. He was doing this cyborg voice, this robot voice. It was insane. Kelsey was doing this like, frustrated, like crazy, a little bit crazy scientist, like researcher type thing, And then we had Baron DeRoth was like doing like the NPC voices. Like it was basically, we were playing Mothership, but it was essentially Aliens 2 with the dropship and investigating the installation. And he was
was it the starter adventure? Not another bug hunt.
It might have been. It might have been.
Was audio a big part of the adventure?
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
it was a
that's
huge
the starter
part.
adventure. Incredible, a very well designed adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically aliens with different rules for the aliens.
Okay. Yeah. It was essentially Aliens 2. And as soon as I realized we were playing Aliens 2, I was like, oh, this is amazing. You know.
But you got drop ships, and there's like a lost contact with the colony, and there's
it was everything. It was everything. Yeah. So and then Stephen Glicker from Roll for Combat was on there too. So but everybody was doing an amazing job with voices and role playing, and it was amazing. And I was sitting there and like, I like to do special voices and stuff, but I was like, I am not in these guys' league. These guys are all way better at this than I am.
I played with you. You definitely were in their league. Your descriptions are like S tier. Like, come on.
Yeah, but like but my voices, my voice acting, you know.
Well, but you can make up for it with your descriptions.
Oh yeah, but I'm a game master. Exactly. It's easier when you're a game master.
Yeah, that game though, man, they have done a really good job with like just getting everything you need in an RPG in there and leaving everything else out.
Yeah, no Mothership, and then the way you can create, and this is true for Pirate Borg too, where the character sheet literally walks you through how to roll up the character, and like you only need to refer to the book like a couple of times for a table. Everything else on the character sheet, it's like that is so refreshing.
Yeah, we stole that for the Pirate Borg. There's a generator in the back where you don't need to look up anything in the book except for some page references, you know?
Exactly. It's beautiful. I love that. And the Mothership was like that too. And I was like, this is great. Rules light, tons of fun, you know, and I definitely enjoy those. And you know, the interesting thing is like for most of my life until like say 5 years ago, all I ever played was D&D. I had no idea that there was such a wide variety of TTRPGs and stuff out there. I lived in a box, you know. And then I started going to conventions, and I started doing like what I'm doing now more, you know, especially when I went full time. And then I was just like, oh my gosh, there's so much cool stuff out there. It's like, wow.
I mean, also the industry has changed. And I think the OGL thing was like huge for the hobby because it pushed people away from this single view of like, I play D&D. And it's like, because back before it was like, oh, I play Vampire or I play some people were playing Pathfinder, but like not now. Now it's like there are full groups of people who are just playing different systems, you know.
Yeah, which I think in a way is awesome, you know.
Oh, it's definitely awesome.
Yeah. I think it can make it harder from like a business standpoint because, you know, since people are more diverse with the games that they're playing, you know what I mean? Like if you have a product line that is for Pathfinder 2 or D&D, and there aren't as many people playing whatever you're making your products for, your customers are more spread out. So it can be more challenging from a business standpoint, I think. You know what I mean?
I mean, unless you're not making one of those games, because from my perspective, it's like the opposite. It's like, oh, if I had made Pirate Borg in 2019, it would not have done that well. But now it's like people are looking for other places to go. So
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. But overall, I like it because we're just playing. I learned a whole bunch of games I didn't even know existed, and they're all amazing, you know, so it's really cool. All right, I'm drawing the winner to our giveaway right now, and the winner is Ruben from Ontario. So Ruben, I'm going to send you an email. We'll get you hooked up with your DMLayer store credit and all that kind of stuff. But all right, dude, I think it's probably time to wrap up. It's like 8 o'clock. I go to bed at this time. So
you go to bed at 8?
Yeah, absolutely. I get up at 4 a.m., dude.
Wow. Why do you get up so early?
Dude, I have tried to not get up that early so many times. But when I worked a full-time job and also did a lot of the stuff I'm doing now, I had to get up at 4 a.m. to like get a bunch of like my work done before I had to go to my real quote unquote real job. And so I've been getting up at 4 a.m. for 5+ years at this point, 6-7 years. I don't know how long. And just to be able to get work done. And then when I went full time, you know, I still was getting up at 4 a.m. And then I have tried several times to get up at 6 or even later, sleep in, and then stay up later. And like, it never works. I'm never as productive. I don't get my stuff done as well. I don't feel as good. I'm not as happy. Like, I always feel better when I get up at 4 a.m. I do my morning little tiny routine. You know, I like read my Bible and stuff, and like get my coffee and kind of wake up, you know, and stuff. I'm always better when I do that. And then I'm working on stuff by like 5 or 5:30, or I go to the gym, you know what I mean? And then get back from the gym around 9 or something, and then go to work. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, man. I'm way more productive. And I know I have the freedom to do whatever I want, but I always just gravitate back toward 4 a.m., man. I don't know. So
yeah, doesn't that mean you're going to bed when it's light out during the summer?
It does, absolutely.
That's crazy to me.
Oh, I don't have a problem with that. I go right to sleep, man. My wife makes fun of me. She's like, because my wife has insomnia and she has a hard time getting to sleep. But I get in my bed, I read my book for like 5 minutes before I'm like falling asleep practically. I put my book down, my head goes down, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah. Well, I love that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I do. So anyway, it's bedtime for me. So we'll wrap it up, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, you're very welcome. So remember, folks, you can check out his stuff at the links in the description and stuff down among the dead. You can pre-order it, get some Pirate Borg. It's tons of fun. So thank you, Luke. I really appreciate you coming on, man. It's always fun talking with other folks. So thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Good night.
Stay on the Zoom, man. I'm gonna shut off the live stream and stuff. I gotta find all the proper buttons.